In this Bry's Blabs about me, once again, I'm going to talk about how I made it work, meaning how I made teaching yoga work. I'm still working on making it work every single day. But if you're a yoga teacher and you're sitting here and watching this and you're out there and you just started teaching yoga, or you've been teaching for a little bit and you just feel like it's this stressful cycle of you put in all this time, you end up fatigued and drained, and you just feel like you're starting over again every time you amp yourself up. Know that even as I grew my business, as I continue to grow my business, I get to those moments as well. But I was, like I said in my last video about how I became a yoga teacher, I was definitely at a place about 3 or 2.5 years into teaching yoga where I felt like I wanted to give up. And that was because I felt like I was at my max, meaning I was teaching as many classes as I could here in LA. I was working all over the city. I drove a Prius and I literally drove it into the ground, this car, but it was my baby. Still have it, by the way, to remind me of those early days. I was also teaching a lot of privates, filling up my schedule, no days off. And when I looked at, my taxes, my end of year net income, I was not making over $25,000 a year net. And that was crazy. So money is not the most important thing in the world. And if you're teaching yoga and you're like, well, I'm doing it just to live my passion, I commend you. A lot of us out there, though, I had a daughter and I was a single mom. When we work, right, we want, with the time and the money that we invest into this career, we want to be able to also live. And at the time, I felt like I was spinning my wheels. And it wasn't, until I did the Equinox video that I felt like this could be something that I can grow. And I say that because I'm sure there are a lot of you out there who can, live off of the privates, and that's wonderful. And I think, if I did teach only privates, I could definitely do that as well. Because privates, you get a lot more for the time put in. And you're connecting with that one individual, which can be gratifying and can also be exhausting. But what I really wanted to address and talk about is the emotional exhaustion that we experience without realizing it. We come to teach yoga because it's our passion, and it's so exciting. If you were in some other job that wasn't making you happy, you were sitting behind a desk crunching numbers, or you were in a really stressful, unfulfilling job, and you decide to take your teacher training and you start teaching yoga, it's freaking exciting because you are finally doing something that you love and loving what you do. You're living your passion. But then when you start to hustle and hustle and hustle and hustle, it gets really tiring. And all of a sudden, every yoga teacher who hustles goes through this. You start to feel really fatigued. And there's an underlying aspect to all of this that we don't realize, and that we're rarely taught in yoga 200-hour teacher trainings, is that the energetic exchange between two people, whether you're teaching a private or yourself and a group of people, it has a huge impact on us as teachers. Now, from the outside, it looks like, what a great job. We get to waltz into a yoga studio or someone's home and teach yoga for about 90 minutes or an hour or whatever it may be, 45 minutes, and then waltz out and go drink a shake and then go to the next one and the next one. To people who sit behind a desk, or if you did before, it seems way better. And I will say, it's great. I don't want to sit behind a desk if I don't have to. But when you are working with people, whether you're just leading them through a yoga practice, you are giving your energy and you're also receiving your energy. And it's a lot, especially when people like your students or clients come to yoga, they're coming to release and they're coming to feel better. So imagine what you're receiving and what you're giving, right? You're receiving what they're releasing and you're giving what they want. So you're receiving negative and you're giving positive. When are you giving back to yourself is the biggest question. And yes, at first, you know you do a lot of yoga, so that's your giving. But when you start to get busier and busier and you realize how much busier you need to be just to make a living, you end up not having time for yourself. And for me, the realization was that the yoga asana practice actually wasn't refueling me the way that I really needed. It was the pranayama and the meditation and the stillness practice that really, really helped me refuel. Now, my life is very different now in terms of how I exchange energy with people and when I do it. But back then, even though I realized I was depleting myself, I had to keep going. And it became something different. It grew from being in Los Angeles and teaching at that point about 35 sessions a week, no days off, some days working from 7 to 7. It went from that to traveling and teaching. And I'm sure a lot of you look at that and you're like, that's exactly what I want to be doing. And that's what I said as well. You know, I could see that on the business level, traveling and teaching would allow for me to be in the next bracket of income and allow for me to grow my brand globally. And like I said, with the Equinox video, I was given that opportunity and actually rode out the next 5 years after that, and still am, off that Equinox video, which is great. And it really taught me how important it is to connect with people, whether it be in person or via these channels that we have. And I actually spent the first 2 years of traveling and teaching not realizing how beautiful each connection was, not just for my business, but also for myself. It wasn't until this year, actually, that I learned maybe the secret, I'm still working on it, but maybe the secret to exchanging energy in an authentic way, but in a way that doesn't deplete me. And I'll talk a bit more about that in my next one, give you my secret ingredients to authentic connection. But I do want to close this one by saying, if you're tired, if you're working your tail off, and not feeling like you're getting much in return, I invite you to think about how you look at yourself as a business. And this one's about me, so I'll tell you that how I started doing it was realizing that people wanted to know about me. That out there, regardless of all of the insecurity that I had about being on social media and talking about myself, which I'm sure you're like nodding, yes, I feel that same way too, is that social media is also a gift because there's something like over 1 billion people now on social media platforms. So as insecure as you might feel about yourself, I'm sure that there are people out there who can relate to you because that is a crap load of people out there. And I have built some amazing connections and friendships with people on social media. So I will say it now, as I always say when it comes to business, you are an entrepreneur and you have the success of your business in your hands. The success of your business really is the success of you. You are your business. So keep that in mind.